I always believed that when you gave your heart to someone, it was for better or worse. And for 10 years, I thought Emily and I had that kind of bond, a partnership that could weather any storm. But life has a cruel way of teaching you that not everyone holds the same values. It started innocently enough. Emily began staying out late, claiming she was taking yoga classes after work. She started dressing differently too, flashier, bolder. I didn't think much of it at first. She deserved to have her hobbies, her outlets. She worked hard as an interior designer and was entitled to a little self-care. But then the phone calls started. Whispers in the kitchen, texts she'd quickly swipe away when I walked into the room. One night, as she slept, I finally gave in to the nagging voice in my head and checked her phone. What I found shattered me. Messages from someone named Jake. Explicit messages. Messages that left no doubt about what was happening. I confronted her the next morning. She didn't even deny it. Instead, she looked at me with a mix of defiance and irritation like I was inconveniencing her. "I don't love you anymore, Tom," she said flatly, arms crossed. "Jake makes me happy." I should have been furious. Maybe I was, somewhere deep inside, but mostly I felt numb and broken. 10 years of marriage, gone. But what she said next reignited something in me, something cold, calculating, and determined. "And just so you know," she added, "I'm filing for divorce, and I'm taking the house, the car, and half your business. You owe me that much after wasting my time." My business? The company I'd spent over a decade building from the ground up. She had never lifted a finger to help with it, yet she felt entitled to half of it. That was the moment I decided Emily wasn't going to win. She wasn't going to walk away unscathed, and she certainly wasn't going to take everything I had worked for. For weeks, I played the part of the defeated, clueless husband. I let her think she had the upper hand while I worked in secret. My first move was hiring a private investigator, a retired cop named Mike. He had a no-nonsense demeanor and a knack for sniffing out the truth. Within days, he provided me with evidence of her affair. Photos of Emily and Jake at a hotel, receipts from expensive dinners I'd unknowingly paid for, and even a copy of the lease Jake had co-signed for an apartment. The real kicker? Jake wasn't just some fling. He was a con artist with a long history of leeching off women. Emily didn't know it yet, but she wasn't trading up. She was being played. My second move was securing my business. I transferred ownership to a trust under my brother's name, ensuring that Emily couldn't touch it during the divorce proceedings. I also liquidated our joint savings account, leaving only enough to cover her lawyer's retainer. The rest went into an account she had no access to. But the pièce de résistance was the secret weapon I'd been working on for years, an AI-powered financial tracking software I developed as part of my business. The software had recorded every penny Emily had spent during our marriage, and as it turned out, she had been siphoning money into a hidden account for months, money she had used to fund her affair with Jake. When the court date finally arrived, Emily walked in with the confidence of someone who thought they had already won. She had a high-powered attorney, a smug smile, and a stack of demands that included the house, alimony, and half my business. Her lawyer started strong, painting her as the victim of an unfulfilling marriage, and me as an unfeeling workaholic. I sat quietly, letting them build their case, biding my time. Then it was my turn. My lawyer, a brilliant but ruthless woman named Karen, rose from her seat and approached the judge. "Your Honor, we have compelling evidence that Ms. Carter has not only been unfaithful, but has also been embezzling funds from the marital estate." Emily's smile faltered. Karen presented the private investigator's findings, including the photos, receipts, and details of Emily's hidden account. The judge's expression darkened as he flipped through the evidence. "And that's not all," Karen continued. "We have reason to believe that Ms. Carter's lover, Jake Matthews, is a known fraudster who has been exploiting her financially. We request a forensic audit of all joint accounts and assets." Emily's lawyer tried to object, but the judge silenced him with a wave of his hand. "I'd like to hear more." That was when I brought out the software. "With your permission, Your Honor," I said, standing up, "I'd like to demonstrate how our joint finances were mismanaged." The courtroom watched in stunned silence as I projected the software onto a screen. Every transaction Emily had made was categorized and time-stamped. It showed thousands of dollars spent on luxury hotels, expensive gifts, and dinners, all charged to our joint account. The kicker was a direct transfer of $20,000 to Jake's account, labeled loan. Emily's face turned ashen. The judge leaned forward, his expression grim. Ms. Carter, do you have an explanation for this? She stammered, searching for words. That money was for emergencies, and Jake needed help. He's a good man. A good man with 3 prior convictions for fraud? Karen interrupted, handing the judge Jake's criminal record. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Emily's lawyer looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. By the end of the hearing, the judge had ruled in my favor on nearly every point. Emily was denied alimony, and the house was awarded to me, and her claim to my business was dismissed entirely. She was even ordered to repay the $20,000 she had given to Jake. But the best part? The judge agreed to freeze her hidden account until the audit was complete. Emily's smug confidence had completely evaporated. She left the courtroom pale and shaking, her expensive lawyer trailing behind her. In the weeks that followed, I heard through the grapevine that Jake had dumped her. Apparently, he didn't stick around once her money dried up. Emily moved in with a friend, unable to afford the lifestyle she had grown accustomed to. Meanwhile, I focused on rebuilding my life. I sold the house, using the proceeds to invest in my business and take a long overdue vacation. For the first time in years, I felt free. I wasn't just a man who had been wronged. I was a man who had fought back and won. And while revenge isn't always the answer in this case, it was exactly what I needed.